Welcome back to Snackcast.
What's up, people? How's your weekend?
Good. It was good.
All right.
A lot of working stuff, but yeah.
You seem thrilled.
Never a dull day for Johnny, who works his butt off all the time.
I had a great weekend.
Good for you.
My wife was out of town. Checkbox one. Played golf with
Kelly
my father.
didn't see this.
77th birthday.
Nice.
With my father and my two boys. So it was a good weekend.
He's a healthy sprout.
He's doing well. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And if you need any framing expertise from Hobby Lobby in Lakeland, Florida, he is your guy.
Yes, he is. So we're back onto our infamous book.
Yep.
Lies My Doctor Told Me.
Yep.
Dr. Ken Berry.
It's a good one, man. I like the book.
Yeah, and this is this is right up your alley.
All right, you ready?
Let's hear it.
The lie of the day. The lie of the day. So you must eat plenty of carbohydrates each day, or your brain and other body parts will not have enough energy to function properly.
Sounds like I drop an arm and an elbow and a leg, and if I don't eat the carbs, body parts are going to fall off.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a misconception, right? That you know, the brain needs sugar, and you know that it's the energy that runs the body, and it can be
right,
but it doesn't have to be.
Well, let me remind you to circle back around towards the end of this, because I want to add a little 2 cents, a little theory that I have about this.
Okay,
but So why is this important, right? If it's good for you, if carbs are good for you, you want to eat more of them.
Right.
If they're bad for you, the glucose can lead to, excess carbs can lead to all kinds of things. Diabetes, weight gain, inflammation.
Yep. And not to mention carbs are often coupled with gluten. Breads, pastas, etc.
The other things that are bad for us,
double
right?
aim.
So where does this lie come from, Scott?
Would you believe me if I told you it's perpetuated in large part by big food?
No way.
So they do learn in med school that the body can create energy from fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like once they get out into the real world and they're practicing physicians, you know, they kind of run. Maybe it's just the simple narrative.
I was going to say, it's probably not all evil from a physician perspective. That whole balanced diet has a good ring to it.
Right.
You know?
Right. And they're, you know, the playbook says that's what they're supposed to.
And the food pyramid triad.
My plate.
Octagon.
Yeah.
My plate.
Yeah. So it's he doesn't cite any proof to this here, but he does say that most of your nutritional schools, and he really doesn't go into detail, but he says they're mostly sponsored by big food. I don't know what he means. Is that university? Is that private? I know that anything connected with the FDA has to, you know, our public schools have to abide by my plate and give so many. So I'm not really sure what he meant by that, but he claims that it's big food that's driving a lot of the nutritional narrative.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually saw a little meme over the weekend. It was anti-my plate, if you would, and it said, name another school or another country where you have milk, a cheeseburger, French fries, and bread by 11 a.m., and this is what they're putting on your kids' plates at the local high school.
Yeah, at 10:30.
Right. 10:30.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk, right. So, all right, let's talk about the lie a little more, right? So any particular, I'm setting you up here, any particular groups of people who have done no carbohydrates, low carbohydrates?
He mentions multiple indigenous groups, tribes, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you say it. Inuit, yep. The Inuits were
into it. I did the quicken. That's what I wrote down. But it's Inuit, right?
And they were in a cold environment, and they ate a lot of like whale, seal, whatever mammal you could imagine, and it was a cold enough environment that You couldn't grow anything.
Right.
There was,
It's the frozen tundra.
right. So all they ate was fatty meat. And there was a dude that went there.
Wilhelmer Stephenson.
Thank you, because I was not going to remember.
I think it's Wilmer.
Okay.
Americanize it.
Well, he
Wilmer.
went there, what, to study them?
Yeah, he was an anthropologist, from what I gather, and he stayed there with them an extensive period of time.
And was amazed by their health.
Right. I mean,
combined with their diet.
all they ate was fatty animals. Right.
All they ate. There was
Right.
literally nothing else. Maybe the occasional root vegetable or berry in like the summer.
Bring deep
whatever,
summer,
right.
where they could grow it. And that was very, from what it said, it was almost like a treat, and it was very little. It wasn't long in nature before. I mean, think about like Alaska, where the winter is like 22 hours a day of no sunlight type of stuff. I mean, you don't grow anything.
No, so that was one he mentioned, and even this Wilhelm guy, what's his name?
Yeah, Wilmer Stephenson.
He came back to the States and tried to tell everyone about
right, screaming it from the rooftops.
Right, and they like vilified him. They
Wilmerfied him.
They Wilmerfied him. So
yeah, then he had to prove his point, right? And didn't he go on a diet for a year?
Over
or so,
a year
and,
with
and
nothing.
Say, hey,
but,
monitor me, and no side effects. So,
nothing but fatty proteins.
So he went on to prove that.
But is that symbolic though of just he talks about it in prior chapters. When there's an official narrative, it's like turning a cruise ship at sea. I mean, to get the opinion going the other direction is almost impossible.
Gosh, yeah, there are those certain stages of proving that point, right? It's like the first you're vilified, then you're laughed at, then you're like disregarded, then your fact starts to turn the corner, and then people like it's like an artist, after you're dead and in the ground, they go, maybe he had something.
Right. If you're lucky, if it's not forgotten completely.
Well, and again, I mean, so, you mentioned big food. So what's the big lobby against this? I mean, we've talked about this before, is it's expensive to keep meats on the shelf. Yep. I mean, they throw out a lot. It rots. If it rots, Wally World doesn't want it on the shelf. I mean, that's the real honest to goodness truth.
Yeah, well, and outside of the meat packing plants, big food doesn't make money on natural product.
Right.
I'm not saying there's not money to be made. I've never met a broke rancher, but
right.
It's I shouldn't say that, I guess.
There's quite a few broke ranchers.
Right.
Especially nowadays where they're becoming
hugely
industrialized.
Right.
But so what about the body? So the body doesn't need sugar? It doesn't need carbs?
It has to have glucose, without a doubt. But the body makes it naturally.
So if I'm not eating it, I get it naturally. Where does that come from?
Liver does its job. And it's so I've told you before, my oldest is diabetic. Mm-hmm. And there can be an episode where the blood sugar can get so low that he would go comatose, in theory, right? Thankfully, it's never happened. But we were asking our doctor about it one day, and he said it's almost impossible, because if it ever gets that low, he may lose capacity, but the liver's going to
kick into gear,
push out all this sugar and sustain life. Yeah, he's going to need to eat something eventually.
Right.
But the liver is able to give the body everything it needs.
So he could go both ways. He could go high, and that's dangerous for him, but he could also go low. That's not real good.
And low is probably the worst of the two for short-term outcomes, but going high, that's long-term stuff. That's, kidney replacement one day, or transplant, circulatory problems, blindness. That's the kind of stuff that's affected by high blood sugar. But back on topic. Sorry.
So it's all right. So there's literally zero research that proves that carbohydrates are a necessity for you. He leads into that. He says that point blankly. But so I'm circling back around, and then he goes, do what I do. Eat low, eat very little in carbs, eat a carb when you want to, kind of thing. He says he eats carbs for taste primarily, and then an occasional treat type of thing. But he tries to avoid carbs like the plague. which led into what I said, circle back around, right? So he says he goes literally 4, 5, 6 days, and very similar. I think the body, and this is a Kevin theory all by itself, so don't take this for much more than that. But I think the body has these fat burning engines, if you will, right? I mean, we burn fat, right? Then you'll go and eat a carb or two, and you turn into more of a glucose burning. I mean, you can't stay. I guess my point is you can't stay in both engines at the same time. You can't burn gas and diesel at the same time. You want to burn one, right?
I would imagine you're right in that assumption.
And I think it's why the My Plate doesn't work, right? Is your body is either in fat burning mode or your body is either in glucose burning mode. This is, again, a theory of mine. And when you're in glucose burning mode and you eat fat, your body has to store that fat somewhere else and says, I'll get to it when I turn into fat burning mode. And when you're in glucose burning mode or fat burning mode, it's the same thing. All of a sudden you eat some sugars and it goes, hey, I need to deal with this right now. So forget about storing the fat, right? Or it's going to store the fat and say, I'm going to get to it later on.
Yeah.
So it's one or the other.
Yeah, the brain takes the path of least resistance, and that is to burn carbs and not produce ketone energy.
So he has some research or actually some homework?
The homework, let's see. So obviously, Kevin and I are kind of passionate about the whole low-carb thing. I think it's worked well for both of us at some level. But here he points us to 2 books. Real Food Keto, Applying Nutritional Therapy to Your Low-Carb, High-Fat Diet by Jimmy Moore and Christine Moore, NTP. What's NTP? I don't know.
Yeah, you know me.
2018. This excellent resource helps you formulate an ancestral appropriate ketogenic way of eating. Book number 2, Eat Rich, Live Long, Mastering the Low Carb and Keto Spectrum for Weight Loss and Longevity by Ivor Cummins and Jeffrey Gerber, MD, 2018. You know, man, the only thing I'd like to point out is, people so often reference keto with weight loss, and it's considered a diet of sorts. And
fad diet.
I think that's a totally inappropriate way to look at it. It is choosing to eat healthy whole foods that are low in carbs and that fuel the body and the mind. I don't think it's something you do for 6 months to lose 10 pounds. It's an understanding that a lot of our food supply is literally poison. And I'm going to try and eat as naturally as I can in the way our ancestors did. Soapbox moment over.
Wow, dude, that was deep. That was deep. It was good. It's a way of life. And
well,
to your point,
I hate it when people go, so you're on a diet or you do a diet? No.
It's poison avoidance.
Truly just I choose to eat in a healthy way if when possible,
That's work.
So, all right. Questions, comments, concerns, hit us at snackcast@yes.fit.
Stay moving.
See ya.